grab your wine. It's time for Rosé All Day and Juleigh's a Mess, where we talk about current events and living in an intersex life. And now, here's Juleigh.
Hi, everybody. I am thrilled. This is the 15th episode of Rosé All Day, Juleigh's a Mess. 15 guys, 15 episodes. I know. It's probably not as big of a deal as I'm making it out to be, but it's huge for me. This year's been huge. And more things are coming and always coming in the pike for me. And 15 is a big deal. You know, for the longest time, I've never been able to really commit to anything. And I've been able to commit to this and use this platform for advocacy and meeting new people all around the world. And the numbers continue to grow. We have a bunch of people joining us tonight, which is just exciting. So 15, thank you for joining us for our 15th celebration. We're going to get to our guest in just a second. We have some big news to talk about first. And some of that news would be, if you haven't heard already, it's my birthday month. I am matriculating in 10 days. Oh my gosh, I love it. And my team look at Wendy with all the effects. I love it. My team at justjuleigh.com is throwing me a roast on my birthday, June 18th. That's a Friday. It's a Friday in 2 weeks at 7 p.m. right here on this YouTube channel, right here in the same place that you watch Rosé All Day every week with me. We will be doing a live roast. I will have 9 friends, actually closer to 15, but 9 actually on camera with me roasting me while I eat dinner that Flo and Gwen are making for me. We will have a cake. But the more excited thing that I'm really excited about is for you that are watching and for you that support me and follow me and love me and subscribe to justjuleigh.com with your email, you will be entered in a drawing every 15 minutes during that live show. And our shows tend to run about an hour and 10, hour, 20 minutes. So that's 5 people that will walk away with a $50 Uber Eats gift card. You also have the opportunity to win merchandise from justjuleigh.com. You can win a wine tumbler like the one I drink out of every week. You can win hoodies. You can win t-shirts. So we're really trying to give back to you guys as well as celebrate my 46th birthday. What? Which I'm just thrilled about. So we're really excited. Let's talk about that rosé. And the information, by the way, about that roast is scrolling at the bottom right now. Let's talk about my rosé. I've been waiting to drink this rosé and try this rosé for 15 episodes. I'm a huge fan of Bravo's Real Housewife series. And I love Lisa Rinna. And last year, they went to the south of France. And she talked about one of her favorite rosés by a winery called Whispering Angel. I tried to find it online. I tried to see if I could get a bottle. Not only is it hella expensive for a wine bottle, I'm not rich yet. They seem to be out of it. So, and maybe it was COVID, who knows? But I was in a local store recently and they had a bottle. I actually went in to buy the bottle of wine that Peggy had been drinking when we did our show a couple of episodes ago, Peggy McGee. I wanted to try her rosé. There you go. You're drinking it right now.
It's a mini.
So I went to go get it. I had that one for next week. And lo and behold, I found Whispering Angel. I have a new man in my life who I am dating that lives in Georgia, and he put up the money to buy the bottle for this episode. It is $30. I'm a $2 chuck Trader Joe's kind of girl. So $30, that's a nail biter for me to buy. Because what if I don't like it? And I live alone. So who's going to drink it? I'm going to pour it in the woods outside. Here we go. Here it is. Now my only beef right now, it's Whispering Angel. There's the label. You can't really see it. It's light, right? There it is. Whispering Angel. It's a 2019 reserve. It smells heavenly, which is probably why they named it that. But I know, right? That's probably why they named it that. We're going to pour it into my XX wine tumbler. Maybe not. Oh, this is why I was upset. Because trying to get the cork out, it broke 4 times. So as I search for a wine sponsor, I'm really hoping that somebody will give me an electric wine bottle opener. Because
for $30.
I can't do it anymore, y'all. But anyway, the cork's now in the bottle, which they say you shouldn't do. Shame on me. But I'll probably finish this tonight anyway. So we're going to try it. This is Whispering Angel. I mean, let's be honest. Whispering Angel for $30, this better feel like angel wings cascading over my body. Y'all, it's like water. And not water in a bad way. Like it's smooth and crisp. Everything that you want in a good rosé or a white wine, it's crisp. It's got a wonderful fruity, oaky kind of palate. It's delicious. So Whispering Angel, thank you. Lisa Rinna, if we ever meet, I will kiss you over this recommendation. I don't know you, but I feel like our trajectories may cross at some point, maybe on TikTok. So Rosé All Day this week, it is a win. Whispering Angel for the win. Thank you to Chris for sponsoring. Everybody wants to know what Chris it looks like. And I've been holding out. I said, I'm not going to share what this new boy in my life looks like until the roast. You have to tune into the roast because he's roasting. So this should be fun. I said, be careful, Chris. You roasting could end our relationship.
Yep.
I'm kidding. Don't say anything bad, right?
Right.
So I'm going to switch over to chat because we have some people chatting. And while I do that and say hello to everybody that's joining us, I see Blair. I see C-Baby. I see Charlie. I see a lot of people joining us in chat. So that's always fun. And then let's go ahead and introduce our guest this week. Her name is Wendy Drevno York. She's a fireball of energy and adorable, and I adore her. She is friends with Peggy McGee, who also was on our chat a couple of weeks ago, and the impeccably talented David Wally. We talked about that, right? And the godfather of haunts, as I call him. And Wendy?
Yeah, baby.
How long ago did we meet, and how do you know me?
Okay, well, 2020 has screwed me up when it comes to years. So I want to say, I don't know. I can't remember.
2014.
I was going to say my first year there was 2013. So I think it was the second year I was there. So 2014. And I met you at Dark Harbor. And we... of course, auditioned for Monsters, but because we're so talented and talkative and can really improvise on a dime, I'm going to have to say that you and I are just kind of like, where's the conversation going? Sure, I'll go that way.
Did it really happen? Maybe not, but I'll go that way. No, it did. I'm saying when I improvise sometimes, you always have to say yes to your partner.
Yes. Well, but I know. And sometimes you had those people in there that you're just like, yeah, no. But no, so we were in oh my gosh, what was it called?
Encounters.
The encounters. And we dressed up in these jumpsuits, and we took these tours out of people into the most recent haunt that they had put in, and they kind of did it a little bit quickly. And I have to say that the people that worked Encounter, we worked. We, because some of the things were a little far-fetched and people weren't buying it. But I'll tell you, as a team, I thought we had fun. There was a lot of times that I think I kind of missed out on the party because I only worked certain weekends because I lived a distance away. But yeah, that's how I met you.
Well, and then you were also, I want to say that year you were, or maybe it was the first year. What year did you do the mom?
That was
covered it like the butcher mom. What haunt was that?
She was I think that's the year that I was all-star and I
Yes.
got to be all the different characters. Like
Yeah.
wherever they needed someone, I could be popped in.
Because you
that was
did
fun.
Encounters, but then that was that same year then, because you did Encounters and then you weren't always with us, but you would be doing.
That's true. I think that's what it was. Well, I think I was Encounters, and then maybe the next year was an all-star. And first year that's where I met Peggy McGee. She was Graceful Gale, and I was, her piano accompanist, on the piano. But I met you, and you were Bradford, and you just thought it was hilarious that you got booked as Encounters because
I left. I thought it was so funny because I wanted to be a monster.
I know.
And David said audition. I said, great, I will. I'm so excited. And I was working at Queen Mary as a haunted tour guide.
Yes.
And so he was like, audition. We'd love to have you. So I did. I got it. And then the Queen Mary said, well, you can't do both.
I know.
We're not going to let you do both. And I think they were shocked because my lead at the time, Brian Llewellyn, said, yeah, you can't do both. And I said, okay, well.
See you later.
It was nice knowing you.
Yeah.
And he was shocked that I chose Dark Harbor over. And I said, look, I'm an actor.
Yes.
I love doing what I've done on the Queen Mary, and I loved working the front desk, and I loved being in attractions, but
I want to play.
This is what I want to do.
Yeah.
So I think it was really funny when we found out our parts, and they were like, you're going to be a tour guide. and not only was I a tour guide, but they had built our house, because there were many houses in the Queen Mary, where I went during the day. Yeah, where I went during the day giving all those tours.
Oh my gosh. And I just thought, oh golly. Now, I mean, some of it was really great. There were some great things in there, but yeah, I thought, oh, now I call you Julie because that's
fine.
But I thought, oh, poor Julie, man, she just got ripped off. Because he was just like, okay, here we go. Not only am I a tour guide, but I'm a tour guide on the Queen Mary.
But I mean, I still had a wonderful experience and still met so many
but
great people.
Your last year.
Well, it was. Oh, I left in 2015. I left in January of 2015. And so I only did it for 1 year. And I left January and moved back to Georgia. Did the Vampire Diaries, and then went to Europe for 3 months and ended up losing my toe.
Oh, yeah.
You remember all that? And then I came back, and that's when I was living in Georgia, and then I moved to Florida again. But the great thing is, when Dark Horizons came to Orlando in 2019, I was the first, a couple of great things I know I talked to David about it. I don't know if he remembers, but I walked in and it felt like coming home because everybody that was a part of Dark Harbor was now just in a different location.
Yes.
And so I got to see everybody and that felt good. But it was also the first time I was walking out to audition as Juleigh. And
how did it feel?
It felt great. It was the first audition I did as Juleigh. I didn't know that I didn't know if I could do the work because I knew what David expected out of an audition, and I knew, and I just didn't know with all my health issues if I would be able to last working a haunt every weekend, Friday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And I auditioned and I was like, I'm probably not going to get it. I was the first girl hired that
And the
weekend.
first girl fired? No.
No, well, maybe almost, but then when they told me that I was going to be on Ghost Ship and that I was going to be with Peggy,
Oh,
and that they supported me and they loved me and they wanted to work with me and do what's best with me, and I felt vindicated. And then I got to be an ugly, but then I laughed too because I thought I'm going to be like Graceful Gale.
yeah, I'm going to
You
be
know, like, you have scurvy and botulism and we're putting these marks all over your face, but then at the same time everybody was coming up to me going, you work Dark Harbor? What was that like? Oh my gosh. So I felt kind of like a quasi celebrity, and then like they were like, were you an all-star? And I'm like, no, but it kind of felt that way. And then I got top performer at Dark Harbor eventually, and it just, that whole experience, I'm one of the very few that can say I opened Dark Horizon, but I finished my Queen Mary career with Harbor, and that they coincide and just this magical kind of entity, and that's just always meant the world to me.
Yes. When David, I think it might be popped up on Facebook feed, or David sent it out, and I was just like, you know what, I want to do this. I really want to do this, and I did not live close. I mean, it's I was Long Beach, and I'm up here in the Santa Clarita Valley, the Valencia area, and I was just like, I just really want to do it. And of course, our dear Peggy McGee, my bud, I said, girl, I'm sleeping on your couch. And I said, and why don't you do this audition with me? Why don't we try? So, we got it, and she went on to do her thing. And I didn't go back. I did it for 3 years. And I didn't go back because I was just kind of starting to have health issues. Didn't really know what they were. And it was just, I think my body kind of getting a little old. And and my first year, people around me were like, how old are you? Because I'm all kind of dolled up in the circus, right? Although this is old. And I had told one of my fellow performers, I said, I'm 50, and they're like, you're 50? Oh my God, I never thought that. And they were kind of like looking around. I think I was one of the older entertainers, but I kept up with them. I mean, for 3 years, man, I was right there.
And what I loved about you is one of the first times we got to talk, because we had downtime in Encounters, because it was a new haunt and people weren't sure if they really wanted to go on it. We weren't known for being scary. So, a lot of nights we would sit there and eat cupcakes and read books and watch drunk raccoons run around with Dark Harbor maps. And pretend that we were Peter James. And so
we're getting paid for sitting.
I remember one night we were talking, and I think one of the things that I really just gravitated you. I mean, you had no filter. I had no filter. You were a little more reserved because you're a mom and you're married. But I remember Ashley and I and some other people were talking about boyfriends and how to keep them. And you were like, you know how you keep them? And then you told us, which I'm not going to say. And I was like, oh my God, I love her. Like, I love her. Like, can you please be my new mom?
And I just remember when I met you, I just thought, I just really like this person. Like, I hope they want to be my friend. And yes, I was a little reserved because, I think for so long, I mean, I was 50 at that time, and my kids were high school. And
you have daughters, correct?
Yeah, I have a son and 2 daughters.
Oh, a son and 2 daughters.
Yeah, and so at that time, it was very much like, your kid, you can't talk that way in front of your kids, and you have your friends. But I had lost a sense of who I was, so I was just kind of my kid's mom. So I always felt wherever I went that I had to. And so that's what I loved about Dark Harbor. People didn't know my history. I could come there. I could be anybody I wanted to be. And you know who I chose to be? I chose to be me. And it was the best
Great
of my life. Because I wasn't somebody's mom. I wasn't somebody's wife, and because I wanted to act, but I wanted children. And I didn't want to miss any moment of my children's lives. My father died when I was very young, and there were 9 children. And I was number 8 of 9. And my mom did everything she could do, but she had work after he passed, and there are a lot of things that she wasn't able to come and see, things that I did and wanted to participate in. My kids are probably thinking I was a freaking helicopter mom, but whatever. I was there,
Yeah, but I love looking at your social media because in every one of your pictures, your husband and you are there. I mean, in
yes.
every single one of them.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's lucky,
Yes, we've been married. Okay, it's 2021. It's gonna be 31 years in November, and we were together 2 years before we got married. And I do realize how very lucky I am. It's been very hard though. It's trying to please that boyfriend for 30 years, and so,
but from the information you gave us at Encounters, you please him. So I mean,
but sometimes you get tired of playing that game. You just want to leave me alone. So,
I get that too. Speaking of children, we are going to move right on into current events.
Okay.
And one of the stories that I picked three this week, that just sum up me. Things that I'm like, ooh, I want to hear that news story. Play more of that and less of that. So I actually, speaking of kids, this one's kind of twofold. There is a Reddit post that's going viral right now about a mother that's having a 10-year-old birthday party for her son and like a sleepover. And she thinks that she may have overstepped by not inviting one of his friends that has always come to his birthday parties before. And the original poster on Reddit said, it's not the kid's fault. The issue we have is with the kid's mother. Because when we say pick the kid up at 11:30, that's when everybody's going home. She often will say by 12:30 she's running late. By 2:30 she's eating lunch. And the kid usually doesn't get picked up until 4 or after 4. Yeah. So she was like, am I wrong by not inviting the kid this year? Because of the mother's faux pas. What would you do in a situation like that?
I would have very kindly fibbed and told the mother that the party ended at 10 a.m.
So she'd show up by 3?
Maybe. Or I'd say, this is what I would do is I'd say, you know what, to make it easier, I'm actually going out to run errands that day. I'll just drop them off. I'll drop them off for you. So it's just easier. That way it's like, because calling people out sometimes can, come across passive aggressive. It can be whatever. Yeah. And one time I was very honest with a mom that was just like, how come nobody wants to invite my kid to this thing? And I could have fibbed her in the moment, but she was asking me honestly. And I said, honestly, your kids are great kids, but both of you work and you have a nanny, and the nanny's not really keeping an eye on the kids, and they're running around barefoot around the neighborhood. And, it's not you, but I think the person you've hired to watch your child isn't doing what you want them to. And it was kind of unfortunate because after that, she didn't really talk to me anymore. And I thought, well, okay. Don't ask if you don't want to know.
I know. Supposedly, the original poster said when she told the mom that, the mom called her an uppity biatch and blocked her on all social media. And I thought, that's sad. Yeah. Somebody else said in the comments that the mom probably was having adult fun time with the milkman while the husband was at work and just was using the birthday party as an all-inclusive daycare. I thought,
that's kind of extreme. You know what? Maybe is she a single mom? Is she just like taking advantage of that day?
Yeah, maybe she needed a breather.
Yeah, maybe she needed a breather. Maybe she's not that mom that's all involved in her kids. And if somebody else wants to watch him, then they can watch him. Everybody has a different personality. So if I think if my child really wanted that child there, I just would have told that mom. I said, hey, look, I'm heading out at 11. I'll just drop him off. Even if it wasn't true. My husband's gonna drop some kids off. We're gonna drop some kids off.
Right. We'll take care of it. There are easy ways out of it, especially because there's always so much drama anyway with adult parties, with kids parties.
I got twin girls. They were 5 at the time. For their 5th birthday party, they wanted just girls and they wanted a dolly party. And the neighbor had a daughter and a son. And she came over and she's like, can't he just come? And I said, well, it's a girl's doll party. And she goes, well, he can bring a doll. And I said, it's not about the doll. It's just that my girls feel they just want their little girly friends around. But if the son couldn't come, then the daughter couldn't come. And I asked my mom, I said, well, what should I do? And she goes, just let him come. And part of me is like mad. I was like, now you're, as a mom, you're just can't, this is a life lesson to teach your son. You weren't invited, honey. And you won't be invited to everything that your sister. I've got twins. I know what that's about, girlfriend. Let's be real. It's life is not fair nor equal, and that's why
it is not
to cope with it instead of everybody getting a trophy.
I agree with that. Speaking of families and situations and kids, that leads us to another current event. I didn't realize, but a couple of days ago, Harry and Meghan, I don't know why I always resort to talking about the royals on here, but I am one of those people that's, and maybe it's my mom, but I watch The Crown and I love to get kind of like, I hear stories and I'm like, how's that work? Yeah. And the story is that, Harry and Meghan Markle had their daughter about 4 days ago. She gave birth to a girl.
Yeah,
Lilibet, Diana, Mountbatten, which we've heard that name all the time on the Queen. Yeah. Anyway, the story is that when Prince Philip died, Queen Elizabeth issued a statement saying she didn't want anybody to use that name, her childhood nickname of Lilibet, anymore. And now, 4 days ago, Meghan Markle and Harry announced that they were calling their daughter Lilibet.
Okay, what's your question?
I would like to, maybe she said, I don't want anybody to call me that because they're going to call my great granddaughter that. And I don't want confusion. I don't know. I'm not in the palace, but it just seems like lately Meghan and Harry are just,
they can't do anything right, can they?
They're just sticking that spoon in the pot and stirring it. But then as my friend Charlie says, they're not licking the spoon. Like they're out there stirring, but they're not necessarily owning the actions.
Okay, so what okay, are people upset that they named their child that after the Queen said don't?
I think people are a little upset because they're saying you're not.
But people in the UK, not so much here in the States.
Well, who knows? I mean, the internet's a buzz. A buzz. I don't know. I mean, maybe they'll call her Diana. Maybe they'll come up with a nickname for her, and maybe.
And also, too, I read though that it was also a nickname that was Flower that her mother gave Meghan is Flower, which is also, I guess, translated into Lilibet, and they're going to call her Lily. And as far as I'm concerned, nobody owns a name.
Oh, okay? Right.
Madonna, hello. So if the Queen, personally, it's sort of like other side of the mirror. I think it is a dig to them. Why can't they name their child Lilibet? Why them? Why anybody after that? Because possibly she knew they were going to call her Lilibet.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm thinking. Maybe Queen Elizabeth knew that they were going to do that, and she just put out a directive. I don't think it's necessarily I think people are gunning for different royals. I
do too. And my thing is that what we don't understand here in the States, like they do there in the UK, is that the monarchy has been around longer than the government. And there are lots of people that don't believe in it, lots of people that do, lots of people that it's more just a symbolic thing, and that deserves respect within itself. And so I understand that, but I think that there is a little bit of I don't think they like the fact that Meghan and Harry jumped ship. And I think Harry would have jumped ship whether it was Meghan Markle or anybody else.
Or me.
Well,
We would have
so
stayed
you
a
as a princess
while.
would be so cute.
I know, we would have stayed a while, but I would have gotten tired of walking down cobblestone streets in high heels. I would have been like, can I get a Segway? Wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be great, Your Royal Highness, if you gave us all Segways? We'd move a little bit faster like a Disney parade.
Yeah,
We'd still see everybody, and my feet wouldn't be hurting.
And can you believe they all still wore those damn high heels? I don't know how they do it.
Plus, I'm not gonna lie. Harry's a ginger. I have a thing for gingers.
Oh,
I mean,
you? Okay,
what?
I don't. But the thing is that he is. I think what makes him so attractive, he as a person is attractive to me.
Yes.
The way that he cares for Meghan, those because let's get real here. Regardless of what your damn title is, when you take a spouse or a partner, that should be your most important thing in life.
Right. I agree.
And everybody else can go fuck yourself. Sorry, Queenie, but
I agree. Look, my new beau,
Chris,
does that for me. Like and I was talking about this the other night. Recently, he said, or last week, I was getting ready for my podcast and he called me because he's off on Tuesdays. And he said, what are you doing? And I went, I'm putting on makeup. I have to put on my makeup for the show. And he goes, no, you don't. You don't need any makeup.
Aww.
And I was like, that's sweet. But the camera says I do. And then he was like, well, hurry up and do your podcast so you can take all your makeup off and you can take your wig off because I know that's hot. And he was like, and just let me see you. And that just makes my heart sore.
Okay, now that is someone that is genuine, because after 31 years with my husband, he still says to me, don't dry your hair, don't straighten your hair, wear it curly. You don't need makeup. You're pretty. You don't need it. And I'm just like, at first I used to say, oh yeah, you just want me to get the hell out of the house quicker. But I mean, today I almost wasn't going to wear any makeup because I was just going to come out and go, yep, this be me. But then I thought, no, we can't play that game. Not yet. But that's sweet. I think it's, for a guy to say to you, and instead he could be like, hey, put the wig on, put the makeup on, put the lashes on.
As a lot of them do. Oh, get dressed for me.
Yeah,
put this on. He's like, nope.
Yeah.
He's like, nope. He also said sweet things like when you get down here, because I'm contemplating relocating for him. Yeah. He said, we need to get you a gun. When I'm not with you, you'll have a gun. And I'm like, I don't think that's a great idea.
Now, are you for guns or against guns?
I'm for protection, but I don't, as I get older, I don't have the dexterity in my hands, and I'm afraid that I won't be able to
Well, I'm older than you, and I'm from a gun family. I don't know if you knew, but my husband he's an ex-police officer. And he now does civil rights. He's an attorney who does civil rights. But we do own many guns. They're in a safe, and we go to a shooting range. And there are times where he'll say, you're going to, we travel sometimes to Utah. We have a home in and there's no concealed weapon permit anymore. Anybody can carry. You can't hide it, but, you can carry it.
So he has it concealed, and he's like, he goes, I just want you to have it whenever I'm not around. And I was like, well, maybe the secret to success is we're always together. I don't use the gun.
Yeah. But my husband does the same thing. And I'm just like, when he leaves town, he says, it's there and this and that. And I say, okay, baby, bye. I don't need it, but it's his way of knowing that if the boogeyman came,
you're safe. I could, yeah. I told Chris, I was like, we can get one. It would be fun. And that would be a fun activity for us to do. And I mean, he also said that he wants to teach you. So Chris, his parents own a horse ranch farm. Oh, cool. And he and his brother will inherit it when they're gone. And he would like to sell it and maybe just travel and get a big piece of property. And I'm like, whatever, that's your legacy. We can do whatever. Like, I don't, whatever. Yeah. I just have to keep doing my podcast for the next 80 years. So as long as I can do that. So he was like, I want to teach you how to go hunting. And I was like, in the woods? And he goes, yeah. And I went, what does that entail? And he goes, oh, put a little bit of dirt on your face, like the black stuff, and you'll get on the ground and I'll teach you how to like crawl through the bushes. And
Leave your wig at home.
I was like, aren't there snakes in Georgia? And he goes, yes. And I was like, aren't they on the ground? And he went, yes, but they'll move when you move. And I'm like, no, they probably wouldn't. I'm like, I'm not sure this is a good idea. And I said, can I wear camo? And he went, yes. And I went,
that's what
pink?
you wear.
I said, pink camo? And he went, no.
Oh.
And I was like,
Yeah. Well,
I don't know if that's my thing.
I'll just wait for you at home.
I'm like, maybe you go hunting and I'll go have a spa day. Like, maybe you go hunt for like whatever you hunt for, and I'll go hunt for a deep tissue massage at a swanky hotel in Atlanta.
You go. And that is what makes a good relationship work. My husband golfs, I get a massage, or I go shopping, or I, stay home and have some free time.
I mean, I agree with that. We're gonna talk about one more story. I'm gonna let you choose, and then we're gonna move on because we are having fun, but we're getting in
You're on a time limit, I know.
Of the show. Yeah. So, would you rather hear about 800 people arrested through an FBI sting, or would you rather hear about the megalodon shark?
Wait, say that again. What's the first one?
FBI arrested 800 criminals, career criminals. Did you hear about this? No, so they set up, we'll talk about this one. Okay. The megalodon shark thing was just that they figured out that they were bigger than they initially thought.
Yeah, they thought they did. I was going to say I read that once.
But the FBI one's kind of interesting.
They're going to hate me for playing with my hair.
I play with my hair all the time too.
Okay, good.
They're not going to hate us. They're going to be like, they are cut from the same cloth. So the FBI, along with the police in Australia and with European Interpol, set up a sting where they convinced high wanted career criminals, we're talking espionage and spies and drug dealers, and they convinced them to use special phones. I don't know how they can convince them to do this, but they sold them special encrypted phones. And they were able to listen in and get intel on about 800 of them, and then jumped in on Tuesday and arrested 800 people across the world that were involved in
bad stuff.
Yeah, we're talking like Charlie's Angels stuff, but worse. Like stuff, like Nikita stuff. Like, what do they call them? Hitmen. They arrested hitmen and drug dealers and mafia, and 800 of them globally. And they said for months they were able to listen in and see what they were texting to each other, and they were thinking that all of this information was encrypted, and the FBI was thrilled that it worked, because they were like, this is very audacious of us and it may not even go down.
Right.
So it kind of makes you wonder, like, are criminals getting dumber?
No, I just think that there's more criminals. Sometimes I really feel like there's just more criminals, and criminals aren't dumb. Well, yes, they are, because if you're so smart to know how to create this big scam, if you've got the thought process to do that, then how come you don't, use it for?
Here, I'll make you feel better. Okay, you keep talking.
Okay, there, because I'm backwards to myself. It's Julie, it's so difficult for me because I'll tell you something really quickly. Mm-hmm. I was raised by a single mom, 9 kids. She was, worked in the school district. I was raised Democrat. And then I start dating a police officer. And I married a police officer. And I married to a police officer for 24 years. And then the police officer becomes an attorney, and he actually does criminal defense. And people are saying, how can he go to the dark side? Blah, blah, blah. And he said, everybody deserves their time. They deserve their moment. They deserve this. They deserve that.
They deserve their day in court.
Yeah. But he also did like internal affairs for the police department. So that meant that he would have to investigate fellow police officers. And he'd say, if I wouldn't be doing this if they didn't choose to go the wrong way. I mean, do the right thing. So as far as these criminals are concerned, I don't think that some are dumb, but is the FBI getting smarter? I mean, people today are just about free and give it to me. And if, hey, here's your free phone, it's not $700, it's $350. Or who knows? I didn't read the article, so I don't know the details. So one thing I learned about being married to my husband is I can't really make a snap judgment until I have all the
information.
All of it. Because you don't know. One time I talked dirty about somebody because I didn't have all the information. Oh my God. I mean, I'm glad I was an adult and I went back and I apologized. I said to everybody, I spoke totally out of turn. Do not take that info and use it. I feel stupid. And they were like, yeah, you're not stupid because you apologized. But I'm going off topic here. But I don't know, man. As far as I see, is it a bad thing that those criminals got caught?
I don't know. It is an interesting story. I was like, that is interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, FBI is getting smarter. Criminals. I think that also too is that there are criminals out there that there's white collar and blue collar. Hate to say it, but you get your people
and diamond collared. No, I'm kidding.
No, but or pearl. You know what I'm saying? Pearl
necklace.
Yeah. See, I still am a mom. I'm so anyways, but back
dirty.
To that, I just think that bravo FBI. What took you so damn long?
I know. Anyway, speaking of good stories, it's time for Juleigh's a Mess. Now we are running about 20 minutes behind when we normally do it. That's okay, because I love talking to you. So, and it's my show. This one runs a little bit longer. It runs a little bit longer.
But let's be honest, you were sweet because I am technically challenged, people. Technology, not technically. I'm technology challenged. And my Juleigh had to help me. Okay.
It's okay. So we are at the part of the show that I call Juleigh's a Mess. We didn't really know what to call the show initially. Did we want to call it Rose All Day, which we loved, or did we want to call it Juleigh's a Mess, which we also loved? So we called it both. Because my show. So this is where I tell a story for everybody that's written in and has chimed in, and all these people that have been joining and watching the show lately. They love this segment, and so we tell a story from my past. And then halfway through, I stop the story and I let our guest guess the ending or finish the ending. So you're going to get your day in court, Wendy, as you finish this week's Juleigh's a Mess. Okay. And this week, all month, I'm doing birthday stories because it's my birthday month. So this week's story, I love that you have those.
It's a surprise.
This week's story has to do with my lovely, lovely parents.
Aww.
Who are back here. That would be Bob.
Okay, go ahead.
Bob and Bootsy. They are still together. They celebrate their 50th wedding anniversary in August. And they're still alive.
Hey.
That's so sweet. And I do strive to have a relationship like they have. But in all honesty, I'm so glad they're still alive and together because knowing them as I know them, as you know me, I just don't think anybody else would take them. Kidding, Mom and Dad. I'm kidding. But they are perfect for each other. But, so here's the story. So my mom and dad, when I was growing up with my older brother, Craig, because there are 10 years between my younger siblings and then 14 between my younger brother and I.
Okay, wait a minute. Let's start over. I'm taking notes. You got what?
I have 3 siblings. But I grew up with my older brother, Craig.
Okay.
So it was almost like they had two separate families because
Yeah.
Courtney, my sister, was
Family
10
and
years
I get
younger.
that, yeah.
And then Alex is 14 years younger. So I grew up, you
Oh.
know, being mischievous and running around with my older brother, who I adore, Craig.
Yeah.
And my mom and dad, they were that couple in the 70s and 80s that would make like Easter bunny cakes at Easter with like the coconut and the licorice whiskers, and
I
like
had
they would
those,
take
yeah.
like 2 or 3 cakes and cut them, and they really loved doing that. Now, I struggled growing up because of everything that I was going through already with being intersex and not knowing it, right? So all these things, slow to walk, slow to talk, learning disabilities, poor math skills, just everything that really would cause parents to be concerned and helicoptery, but not knowing what was going on. I mean, I really
And
struggled
nobody
growing
having
up.
an answer.
Yeah. So and there were moments when I thought they love Craig more than they love me, which it's not the case, but you have those moments, right? Yeah. And I think most kids do. And Craig, his birthday's in February, and then my birthday is in June. So my lovable brother, Craig, in the 70s and early 80s was on the Star Wars train. You know, we were all watching the original Star Wars. Do you know what I mean? Like we all saw the original.
Yeah.
And they would make special cakes for us in special shapes. I remember for my 8th birthday, I had a sailboat because boat was the first word I said. And then I remember, like, so they were always making really creative cakes.
Yeah.
And Craig asked, I don't remember the age. I want to say that I was like 6 or 7. I want to say it was my 6th or 7th birthday. But Craig asked for an R2D2 birthday cake in February. And he got an R2D2 birthday cake. I mean, it looked like R2D2 was going to sit up, knock the candles off, and walk right into Craig's birthday. I mean, it was... Now, you know, cake decorators go well and far beyond to create these masterpieces. But I mean, for some
back then
in
it was
the
a big
80s
deal.
in Alabama, that was the deal. His R2D2 birthday cake, blue icing, white icing. They found a way to make like silver icing. I mean, they did it looked amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. I thought, well, boy, howdy. The golden child got an R2D2.
Oh, yeah.
So, when it came time for them to ask me what birthday cake I wanted for my birthday party that year, I said, I'd like a Darth Vader cake. And they said, well, they don't make black icing. Can he be chocolate? No. Is Darth Vader brown? He is not.
No.
I need a black Darth Vader cake, and he needs to be as detailed as that stupid R2D2 cake.
Yes.
And I said, if you love me, you'll make it work. Basically.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's what I want, Mama.
So my mom and dad stayed up all night long making an R2D2 cake with black icing. Detailed as that R2D2 cake. And to hear them talk about it now, they stayed up because they had to create black icing.
Which is all the colors mixed together, you know.
So here we go. How do you think this story ends?
I think this story ends. Oh golly, there's a couple little different endings I am thinking of. I would have to say, okay, so they made you this beautiful cake. Darth Vader black. They stayed up all night long. I think little Bradley Juleigh sees it and says That ain't Darth Vader, Mom. No. I don't know how this story I think that your brother was actually super upset that it probably looked better at Darth Vader than R2D2, and it fell on the floor and nobody got to eat it. Like it got dropped.
I mean, my older brother was 2 years older than me. And Craig, I don't remember his reaction. I think he didn't care either way. Like, I think because usually what they would do is they would invite one of his friends over. So he would have something to do because it was my birthday. You know what I mean? Like, where I could have like his birthday one year. My parents both taught at Auburn University, and he was really into football and like football stars. So they got him a special day with all the college football players at their indoor training facility because they both taught at Auburn. So I remember that day, like I was walking around with cones on my head, acting like I was a witch and flirting with the babysitter because she was there. Our babysitter, Carol Barrett, who I thought was just gorgeous in the 70s, I was like, hi, I'll hang out with you. But I was always more drawn to women anyway, and for friendships. And so, I mean, I liked looking at the college football players, don't get me wrong.
Right.
But I didn't know what that was all about yet. I didn't know what that was about yet.
Who did somebody point out that you're more into ballerinas than Darth Vader? I don't know.
No, well, I like Darth Vader because he had power.
Yeah.
And he was on the dark side. And I used to think all the time, what's the point of being on the good side if you have to be good all the time? Like, he was villainous. I mean, I can see the desire to be villainous. I like being kind and nice and princess-like. Yes. But I understand, even as an adult, the ire and the desire to be mean every once in a while. Cut throat. So I really like Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Anyway, the way the story ends is my parents said after they worked on it all night long.
Yeah.
And they were just toothpicks in their eyes the next day to make sure that my birthday went off with a hitch. They brought Darth Vader out. They unveiled it. I was thrilled because it looked just like him. Again, they did a fantastic job for not being cake decorators and living in Alabama. Kids were like, oh, like everybody knew who it was. It looked amazing. But my mom said I could have killed you because we cut it to give you a piece and you didn't want to eat it because it had black icing. And she goes, your direct words were, ugh, black icing. I can't imagine what that's going to taste like. And she goes, because you didn't eat it, none of your friends ate it. So she goes, we stayed up all night making black icing and making you a Darth Vader cake. And your punk ass, she was like, you didn't even eat it. You were afraid eating it. And we were like, come on, Brad, it tastes really good. And you were like, nope, not eating it. Let's open presents.
But I'll tell you.
And I said, I think even in my mind at that time, I don't think I ever, my dad ate it. He liked it. And my mom makes great cakes. I think when I look back on that moment, that was a test for them, because I did feel, feel very kind of slighted. And I thought, well, if they make me a Darth Vader cake, then I must be on the level. So I was excited about that, but it was I definitely was testing them.
It was a test. I was like, make it. I'm not going to eat it, but
but you made it, and it's beautiful.
Yeah,
but it's got black icing, and I think they put like licorice in it too, which I don't think would have changed the taste so much. But they were trying to because they were trying to make black icing, so they were trying everything. And I think I giggled. I giggle now at that story because I thought they were ready to kill me, I'm sure. But they did it, which proves that.
Hey, every parent does that. My mom did it. I could see looks now at reflecting back as an adult. I do it with my kids where you just, you put it out there, and then they're kind of like, huh? And you're just like, I lost 3 nights of sleep today. I love you so much, and you don't get to see how much you love me.
Well, now we're going into a segment called 5 Questions.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask you 5 questions,
Okay.
and some of them may be short answered, just for time constraints, but they may be longer. So 5 questions, 5 questions, 5 questions. All the roles that you got to do at Dark Harbor, what was your favorite?
I liked when I was All Star, and to be honest with you, I can't remember what she was called, but she was the mom in the
Right.
one maze.
And you were covered in blood, like a
God.
1950s diner mom.
Yeah, and I had the wig,
Yeah.
and she was great because I just was like, I started feeling nice, like, oh, have you seen my puppet, my little puppet? Come here, puppet, 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 and I get right behind someone. Did you see my puppet? I haven't seen my puppet. Where's my puppet? My little boy puppet. And then there were all these hiding places, and I would throw my voice, and some people would get so scared they'd kind of push you, and so I do what you were supposed to do, and I go to the next like hiding spot, and I kind of but I loved that one because they kind of came into this mist and there were these hiding places, but then I think they went to that giant, not the thing that looked like a giant vagina in the circus, but remember when they had to go through that thing, and there were all those
and it was like
balloon, like penises. I don't know what they were, but yeah.
I should have gone there. I should have gone through there more often.
Yeah, you should have. But I just thought, you know what? This is the next part is super weird. So I just want to scare you in the hot way. So yeah.
Okay.
I have to say she was a favorite, although I did love working in the circus my first year, because that's where I met Andrew Diego and I met Mel. And I loved the costume people. So yeah.
Love that.
Anyways.
Well, we talked earlier about how we met in encounters, and you felt like I was robbed. If David Wally's listening, robbed. I did say next year, if I'd stayed, I wanted to come back as a half-dead mermaid in a big tank. That would have
that would have been great.
But they didn't have that. So if you were casting now for a new season of Dark Harbor, what role would you cast me in?
Oh my gosh. Dark Harbor, what would I cast you in? Oh Lord. Okay, well, poor Queen Mary's thinking. I think I would somehow incorporate you into you actually being the Queen Mary. Yeah. You're going to go.
That'd be really cool. Like the voice of the ship, like the spirit of the whole ship.
But also even, you could still even be the voice, but the face of too.
Oh yeah. The Queen Mary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Queen Mary.
She was regal.
Uh-huh.
And from things I read, a little bitchy.
Yeah. Come on.
That would be fun. Yeah. David Wally, hint, hint.
Hint, hint.
Epic Entertainment, hint, hint. Steve Sheldon, if y'all are listening, that could be my new gig when y'all finally go back to Dark Harbor.
It's sad, though, that she's kind of sinking. I wish that, the person that was in charge of that hadn't chosen the path they've chosen.
Yeah, and they said that Long Beach has bought her again and that they're going to hand her back over to Evolution. But, even in the time I worked there, they always said, we're going to do right by her, and they never did right by her. So,
yeah, it's sad.
It may be time for her to... That would be really sad. I don't even want to think about it. Okay.
Yeah.
Question number 3.
Okay.
Ooh. Is there a characteristic that you have that you see in me?
Why, yes, I do.
Let's hear about it.
The characteristic I see in you that I have for myself is that we are very outgoing and we're very much hello. We want people to feel welcome and how are you? And people see us as like kind of almost super confident, but I think on the inside it's a little bit of a this is here,
Mm-hmm.
that this here, like if you get to here, then you're
Right.
here. But I just I see you as carefree, funny. The things that you're not like anymore is you're so damn courageous. Like bravo to you. You like, that's why I was nervous coming on the show. I'm like, what are you going to talk to me about? I've done nothing. I mean, you've done so much and I've just done nothing.
But I told you it's going to be, that's not true. And I told you it's going to be like a really great conversation among friends. And
yes.
It's going to feel like
yes.
nobody's watching. So maybe that's the line. but they are hundreds. And they listen on Spotify. I love my listeners and I love my watchers. I didn't think I'd ever say that before. Like, do you realize I'm getting breast surgery at the end of June and I'm getting it on a Monday and I have to do this podcast on Tuesday and they're like, do you want to pre-record something? And I'm like, no, I'm going to go live. Okay, all wrapped up. I'm going to be like this, like, ow, this hurts so bad. Maybe I won't, but I'm going to do the show.
Last minute, you'll check in for a half second and say, hey, bye.
I'm sure I'm not supposed to be drinking on the painkillers. That's going to be a really fun show. No, people, tune in. Tune in for that.
Yeah, but there's non-alcoholic wine too you could do. Or I would probably take the advice of your doctor and not drink.
But where's the fun in that? Fly by the seat of your pants, Wendy.
But girlfriend, you're like the day after. It's not like it's a week later.
People think I don't have a filter now. Come watch that show. That'll be June 29th. Yeah, right. I'll be like, oh.
Yeah. Let me tell you what I really think about her. Let me tell you. Let me tell you what I really think about her. That's what you're gonna be like.
I mean, maybe that'll get me a wine sponsor. Yeah. Question number 4 for you.
Okay.
Let's do an old school question. This is an old school question.
Okay.
If you could invite 3 people back to dinner, for dead or alive, who would you invite?
Just 3.
Yeah, we're not having a full-on California dinner party.
Yeah. No.
Look, you worked on Queen Mary with me. You can invite 3, and all the dead ones that didn't get invited can still show up.
Exactly. Dead or alive, if I wanted to have dinner with 3 people, I would, my mom has passed. I want my mom back. My dad has passed. I'd like my dad back because he died when I was 10 and there were just things I never knew about him or asked about him. And oh gosh, I would invite people that I miss. I have a cousin that passed and my favorite uncle that passed. My brother just passed. One of my brothers just passed.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's
you had a big family. You had a family you said of 8 or 9.
Yeah, there are 9 of us. I have 7 brothers and 1 sister. There's like 30 grandchildren and like 6 great-grandchildren now. Yeah, it's a big family. But I miss my mom and I miss my dad because I just didn't get to know him.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just, I have an uncle and a cousin on his side of the family that just really stepped in when he was gone.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, your last question. I do have a question that I'm wondering about just because you have twins and then you have another child that's not a twin, right? So you have 2 daughters and 1 son.
Yes.
Who is the individual, not the twin? Yeah, are your twins your girls or is your twin?
My twins are girls.
Okay.
And my son is a singleton.
So my question is, was there ever a time that maybe your son felt like he didn't have something special like the girls had? Or is there a moment where he just, or did he not care? Do you know what I mean? Was that not?
Well, they were pretty close. I mean, he was 2, maybe just quite 2.5 when they were born. So they're not that far apart in age. But um, the bummer part about what happened to me was while giving birth to my daughters, one of the placenta, while I was pregnant, one of the placentas had started to make its way through my uterus and into my bladder. And we didn't know this at the time. And I was scheduled for a C-section because I was carrying twins, and that's, high pressure, whatever.
High pressure.
And, thank you. And but I went into labor a week early. And so we went in, and I had a C-section, and I bled out. And I basically died. And then they brought me back. And why am I going in this direction? I don't know. It's about the twins and Wesley feeling different. Oh, is that because after I delivered my girls, the only way to save my life is they had to remove my uterus. And I didn't know it because I was out and under. And I found out after I came to, they told me, they said, in order to save your life, we had to remove your uterus. And I just screamed, feeling no. Because I had wanted more kids. I thought I was going to have more kids. I thought I was going to give Wesley a brother or two. And so I think for him, it was, he would have loved to have had a brother because, just the way I was raised, maybe the way my husband was raised, you don't play fight with your sisters. You don't punch your sisters. You don't hit your sisters. If they want to play fight, that's one thing. But, he's a boy. They wrestle different than girls. And so I wish I had given him a brother. He would have liked to have a brother. And then on a more simple note, when we moved into this home, he was 2.5 and the girls were like 3 months old. And the girls were in one room, and brand new house. We had fans put in the ceilings. And I was so worried because his ceiling in his room is a little lower that I was afraid if he was jumping on the bed, he would hit the fan.
Yeah.
So I didn't have a fan put in. And years later, he said to me, I always thought you loved the girls more. Now, this is when he was younger, but years later, he said, I always thought you knew you loved the girls more because you got them a fan for their bedrooms. And I was always so hot in my room. I'm like, that broke my heart. Because my whole life, all I wanted to do was give my kids everything they needed. Now, I'm going to get sappy for a moment, but on the flip side, hey, I did the best I could do, and I didn't know I was fucking you up. But,
That's parenting. I did the best I could do, and I didn't realize I was fucking you up at the time.
Yeah,
that should be a T-shirt right there.
Yeah, I mean, my mom raised 9 children they were 20 down to the age of 4 by herself. And she just did the best she could. And I was trying to do the best I could, even with a spouse. But there's no handbook to this parenting.
There is no handbook, right?
And we're flying by the seat of our pants because there's emotions involved and developmental things involved. And I just tried to provide for my kids the best I could. I purposely remained a stay-at-home mom because I wanted them to be my priority, and I gave up so much. And so when they said it, there was a part of me that just literally broke my heart. And then there was another part that went, fuck it, wait till you have kids. Everybody.
That's true, because it's payback. My sister, we laugh because my sister has, my older brother has 3 kids. My sister has 4 kids, and they're all under the age of 8. And I'm like, I don't know how you do that. But you wanted them, so here they are. And they're all amazing. They're amazing kids. But her oldest daughter is a carbon copy of Courtney. Carbon copy. Somewhat. But Courtney was never that Courtney was girly growing up, and still is, but Connolly is way more like my mom and dad were tickled the other day that Connolly, when they were packing to move, was picking out the real diamonds in my mom's jewelry box as opposed to the faux diamonds. And I was like, get it, girl. Like, I was so excited when I heard that. And I thought, she's going to give Courtney headaches, and I am here for it with a box of popcorn. Like, I am all about that. So, I mean, you hear a lot of parents say you'll figure it out when you have kids. And it's fun to see these dynamics kind of come back into play.
I mean, all three of my kids I had 3 kids in diapers at one time. I mean, stay-at-home mom, new neighborhood, no friends, no close by family, husband working all the time. I thought I was going to go a little cuckoo at some points, but
I'm sure. And I'm sure there are a lot of moms out there like that. Well, you can tell, look, I adore you. And I haven't met your husband, but I adore you. You can always adopt me. I mean, I love my parents, but you're younger, so you'll probably outlive them. And then I can be your solder. I can be your solder, which stands for the son and daughter you didn't continually have, right? So I can be your new son and daughter, because I'm both. So I'll be your solder.
You can even say my brother's
Solder York. Here's Solder York. And then Wesley will get the brother and the other sister that he never got to have.
You know what? I'll give that some thought.
And look, I'm with it and hip, and I've got great fashion sense, and I'm gorgeous.
Yeah,
so I
don't want you and your new boyfriend moving in, because we are now finally just turned empty nesters.
No. I don't need to come back and stay with you, Mom. Okay. Chris, we got that covered.
Okay.
But so I don't need that. But I'll come visit. I'll go stay at Wesley's. I'll be like, hey, Wesley, do you want me to be your brother today or your sister?
Wig on or off, dude.
Right. Wig on, your sister. Wig off, still your sister, but I'll look a little butchier. I'll just look like a butch lesbian. But more not butch, but whatever.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out, Wesley. Okay, so this is the part of the show, Wendy, where my guests get to ask me one question that they've always wanted to ask me, but maybe did not know how to approach it before, or thought that it may be insensitive, or maybe it's not a bad question, right? But they get to ask me one question about my medical journey, living in an intersex life, and I'm able to answer that for them while educating the world. So what is your question this week?
Okay. So you're intersex. I understand that. But this isn't really my one question. It's the same as that old technical term, hermaphrodite?
No.
Oh.
So I think what's important for people to understand is that we all know, living in the very medical world that we live in, that there's a lot of antiquated terminology. You can be a hermaphrodite and be intersex, but you could also be a hermaphrodite and not be intersex. Hermaphrodism literally means both sex organs.
Yes.
So on the front of your body, that would mean that you have a penis and a vagina.
Okay.
Or maybe it's inner. Right? Maybe you still have a penis and a vagina, or you have boy parts and girl parts on the inside. I do, but I don't consider myself a hermaphrodite, because on the outside of my body, I just have a really small penis. Mm-hmm. As I like to call it now, it looks like a game show buzzer. I make jokes all the time that people are going to slap it and say I'd like world geography for 500, Pat. Like, it doesn't do anything except allow me to use the bathroom, but it's tiny. Okay. It's not micro, but it's small. It's literally like a button on a prep school jacket. And I call it my clitter dick. That's my word. I termed that back last year. I thought it was a really funny word. People are like, what is it? I'm like, is it a clit? Is it a dick? Nobody knows.
But it is, because if you were, had been, like, I have a clitoris, but if I had not had a clitoris, I would have had a penis. Right? The clitoris evolves into the penis?
Correct. The clitoris would evolve into the penis. Some people have micro penises or small, and some people have bigger, and even some women have larger clitoris. But to be a hermaphrodite, you'd also need to have the vaginal opening.
That's what's going to be my question to you.
So I don't have a vaginal opening on the outside of my body. But at 43, I found out that I did have part of a uterus. I didn't have the fallopian tubes, but I have half a uterus. I had a hysterectomy, so I mean, it's probably not there anymore. But
so now you don't have the opening on the outside, but did you have a vagina on the inside?
I have a canal, and I have a female pelvic floor. I still don't consider myself hermaphrodite. That might be challenged by some. They may say, but you are, because you have, but I don't consider it. For me, hermaphrodite, and maybe one of the reasons I don't grasp onto that word is because for so many decades it was termed as a bad, nasty, toxic thing.
You were just in between.
And that's not how I choose to identify. So there are people, they'd be like, but you are, because I did have an ovary and a testicle, and I did have that half a uterus, and I have breast tissue, and I'm just getting it lifted at the end of the month and a smaller implant put in, but I have the tissue. So there are people that would argue that maybe I am a hermaphrodite. But because there was such negative connotation to that word for so many years and still is, I don't identify that way. And
have they chosen another word, or literally that's the word?
They're trying to get away from that word because it is antiquated. They're trying to now just say, because there are some people that are intersex that do have ambiguous genitalia at birth and are deemed that. But mice, there are mice that can be born a hermaphrodite, and there are regular people that are non-intersex and don't have any chromosomal or genetic variations that still have ambiguous candy on the outside of their body. So any living species could be a hermaphrodite, but to be intersex, you really need to have that genetic chromosomal.
Yes.
Variant. And we're calling them variants now, or variations.
Because that's why I think if they were to go off of chromosome, if they would go off of hermaphrodite's chromosome, would it read the same way as intersex?
No, because you could be XY or XX and be a hermaphrodite.
Yes, and you just have the extra genitalia.
Right. So you really need to have that variant or variation to be intersex.
Yes.
But I have a good friend in South Carolina that did the study at the NIH with me. He was there at the same time. And we always laughed that at the end of the week, they said, would you like to meet the other person that's here that's XXY? And I said, I met it. And they said, when? And I said, we met each other on Tuesday. Oh. And they were like, well, how? And I'm like, I think it's just like if you dropped a UFO in Massachusetts and a UFO in California, and they're from the same fleet, they're eventually going to find each other, because I think you gravitate towards each other.
Yes.
And I said, I just think we knew what to look for. And, we're not dumb. Y'all all treat us like we're ignorant. And I'm like, I think I figured out, that guy looks and has some of the same attributes that I do. He's getting on the bus at the same time every morning. He's not going to the same place I'm going. He's going to a different building, but I've been to that building this week. Mm-hmm. So I think you just know. And the day that I found out I had to transition to save my life, I went back to the hotel that night and I drank 3 bottles of wine and had to call my parents. And he said, did you do it? And I said, yeah, I called him. And he said, let's go drinking. Let's go to dinner. And we went and we met a girl that was studying genetics. And she was like, I've never met one person with XXY, much less 2 people with XXY. And we were talking about like our shared experiences. And I'm still great friends with him. But he tells this harrowing story about how he was born in the 60s. And his brother pretty much raised him. And because he had working parents. And then his parents were very kind of distant a little bit. And he noticed a scar behind his scrotal sac. And he asked questions all through adolescence. What is this scar from? Why do I have this scar down here? Right. I don't remember this scar. And he asked his brother about it finally. His brother is now gay and has a partner in the Maryland area. And he said, what is that scar from? And his brother said, I really think that's a question for mom and dad. And he went back to his mom and he said, "What is this scar from?" His dad's gone, and his mom got really quiet. And she said, "I can guess, but when you came out, they took you away in the 60s for about 5 days. And when you were returned to us, you had stitches, and they told us not to pick at them to make sure it healed okay." And she knew. That was her way of kind of being like, I'm older and I don't want to talk about it. And and that's got to be hard closure for him. But he had a vagina. Yeah. He would have been considered a hermaphrodite. And they chose. They said, "You're male, you're a boy." And I look at him now, knowing that he has XXY, and I see female. There are times when I see a lot of female attributes in him. And then there are times when I see male. And because of society and where he lived, which is in the Carolinas, he's had to float between everything.
Yeah.
And he came home from the study and he had a hard time finding doctors in the area that would treat him. And I said, for me, people ask, I came back from that study and I was able to go to my doctor at the time in Orlando, and Andrew Smith, who is also a good friend. He is gay as well. That's the whole reason I was seeing him in the first place. Mm-hmm. And I said, "This is what they suggest. And what do we do?" And he said, "We do it." And he called an OBGYN and he got me in with a urologist that he had worked with. And I had a great medical team. I still have a great medical team. But so many people in my community and in the intersex community will go back from something big like that. And doctors in the area will say, "I don't subscribe to that. There are two genders. There is not a spectrum. I'm not going to help you." And then they're lost. You think they're lost.
But you're not a mind thing. You're a science thing.
Right.
You're science.
Right.
I don't get that. How can they say, "Well, yeah, you're not in my spectrum"? Well, then you're not a doctor.
Right. Or you're not the doctor for me, which I tell people all the time. If you're paying for your insurance, I think people get very lax on this sometimes. If you're paying for your insurance, you're making a monthly payment for your family's insurance.
And you don't like your doctor?
That doctor is working for you.
Yeah.
Your insurance company is paying him or her.
Yep.
So if they're not working with you, because it should be a relationship, you should be able to do just like I did with. So example, I went to Andrew Smith one day in Orlando and I said, "I'm really feeling anxious and I have a lot of anxiety and I'm going through this and this and this." And he said, I think you should go on an antidepressant. And I said, "No." And he said, "Why not?" And I said, "Because I hear you gain a lot of weight on antidepressants." And I said, "I'm sorry, but at the end of the day, I'd rather be unhappy and skinny than happy and fat." And he thought about it and he laughed, and he was like, "I still think you should take it." And I said, "But that's what this is. It's a discussion." And the fact that I can say what I just said and you don't write me off as being stupid and crazy, but you're working with me on it, that's what a relationship, even with your doctor, should be.
Exactly.
You should be able to say to your doctor, "I don't want to take this drug because I already have these issues, and I don't want to take a drug that's going to heighten those issues."
Right.
And that doctor should be able to then say, "Okay, that's a valid point. Let's look at something else that may work." I think the other thing that people don't understand about intersex bodies is we are different. A chromosomal or genetic variant in an intersex body is going to be different than a dyadic body, meaning that person's not intersex. So what works for, say, you, for, let's say, lupus, is not going to be the same thing that they focus on with me when I have lupus, because my body's different.
Your chromosomes are different.
So I'm going to respond differently. And so there are people on TikTok that say to me all the time, "You can take estrogen for lupus?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't know if you can."
Yeah.
But for me, it slows everything down to a manageable pace. But I don't know if you took estrogen in a
Right.
regular dyadic body, if it would treat it the same way.
Yeah.
So what works for one may not work for the other. And also
And
even within
quite
the
honestly,
intersex
even if you
community.
were, yeah, I was going to say, quite honestly, even if you were straight male or straight female chromosome, medications were different on everybody.
On everybody.
Especially on your guys, is because, let's be honest, nobody's testing drugs on anything other than X, Y, or, I mean,
They're not. And they treat a lot of intersex people like they would treat a regular patient.
right.
And then that's when the intersex people come into a challenge because it's not going to work the same way for us.
No.
And our bodies aren't going to respond.
And really, it doesn't matter even if you're intersex. It should always be that every doctor looks at you as an individual.
As an individual
with your
case.
individual needs and wants. Yeah. I mean, my husband has said to me one time, fire her. She is not looking out for your best interest. Yeah. And I did. I was on the phone. Just tell her she's fired. And then,
well, my dad had a doctor in the Carolinas at one point where my dad went to the doctor and the doctor said, look, if you're not going to do what I'm saying to do, then I don't want to be your doctor. And I said, Dad, he is giving you a free pass to leave and find somebody that will work with you.
Yeah.
So leave.
And the thing is that, doctors are there to make recommendations and to take care of you, but they're also there to listen to you if you say, no, I don't want to do that.
Right.
I don't want to do that.
And all doctors take a Hippocratic oath that they will help.
Yep.
And they will find better health for you in uncertain terms. So a true doctor is going to say, this isn't working for you.
Yeah.
Let's research other things. I may need you to work with me. I may need you to try this drug and let's see if that works.
Right.
But it needs to be a give and take all around relationship, just like every other relationship. Well, and if it's not working, feel free to say, this is not working for me.
Exactly.
And my health is at the top.
Exactly. I mean, that's the thing. I think sometimes we all fall into a place of like, oh, yeah, I have a lot of times. Well, I don't want to hurt their feelings. I don't want to hurt their feelings. Hey, if you don't like the way that hygienist is cleaning your teeth, find a new one. I mean, I'm paying you to help me. And with the same as the doctors, I mean,
let's not.
I started to go a little cuckoo, like maybe it was me. Do I have a problem? My husband says, no, it's not you. Get a new doctor. And I found a new doctor, and she found I had 3 pelvic surgeries in 2.5 years. So, and the first I just kept saying,
and that was recent, correct? Because you've been going through some health issues.
A little bit, yeah. I had an emergency appendectomy, and then I had a golf ball size benign tumor in the side of my like right where your muffin top would be.
Yeah.
And I just kept saying, this hurts. I don't know what's wrong with you. I don't know what's wrong with you. So I get a new doctor, and she goes, well, why don't we just get a CT on it? Let's get an ultrasound on it. Let's see why this is hurting you. And when they did the ultrasound, they're like, oh, it's about the size of a grape. About the size of a grape. So we'll send you to a surgeon, and he'll just like remove it. So I was, in the doctor's office, like not even a hospital or anything. And they just numbed me up, and I kept saying, I can feel that. And when they got it out, this thing was as big as a golf ball. It was huge, and it was growing in my muscle. And then the next thing was I had I'm going to mispronounce it, an inguinal hernia, which is a hernia that usually men get, not women, because it's on the lower part of the groin area than it is the upper groin. And all I got was, well, how did that happen? I'm like, well, shit. I mean, I had 3 pregnancies. I had twins. I'm an active person. I lift boxes. What do you mean? Go to the new doctor.
I mean, you probably find this the same too sometimes. My good friend Jess Benedict, I said it correctly this time, has joined into the chat, and he said, one, where do you find doctors like that? You just have to, in my experience, you just have to keep searching for them. Yes. I do find just that sometimes finding a doctor that is for us, for intersex, finding a doctor that is gay or lesbian or in the community, they sometimes have a better, I don't want to say knowledge, but they sometimes have a better understanding or directive
I would
for
rather
helping
see
us.
a female urologist than a male
Right.
urologist, because if
Right.
a female urologist said
You know
have
it's
had
going
a urinary tract infection, a bladder infection for 7 years.
right.
And
Right.
I'm like, but no man did. No man found it.
And I mean, he did make a good point. She made a good point. I'm sorry. I just misgendered, and that's not my point. But Jess said, I'm so sorry. I'm going to have to send her a Tumblr. She said that it is really hard and it is really traumatic for most intersex people to explain what's going on with them to a doctor. And it is. That is a harrowing. I've had to do it every time I've gone to, and I move around a lot. So every time I find a new doctor, I have to do it.
Yep.
And you know, sometimes they look at you like, that's not what you have going on. And you're like, I'll live it.
Yeah. Well, and this is what it's like. I hate to say, but this is what, as a woman, I feel I can understand with you being intersex. Unless you find a really good doctor, and sometimes it's female or male, if they're not on the same track you are, they're going to poo-poo you away. I mean, I had a female doctor. She poo-pooed me away for 4 years. And I thought, well, she's a female doctor. She's good. Finally, I left her and I found another doctor. I didn't even care who the person was.
But, you know, I have another friend, Chris Fields in Miami. He's XXY. And I got him to go and do the study. I knew that the NIH was looking for more participants. And I said, go do it. Yeah. I said, apply and go do it. Because you're going to get a blueprint for the rest of your life.
Exactly.
And he went and he came back to Miami, which is where he lives, in the Miami area. And one of his big issues was he had been told for years that he had really horrible hemorrhoids. Just really horrible hemorrhoids. Mm-hmm. And he's in construction and he was having to, he said guys would always his crew would always look at his truck and be like, oh, your wife's making you buy pads and panty liners. And he was like, yeah, ha, ha, ha. Yeah, I'm my wife. And he was like, I was having to wear them.
Yeah.
Because I had these horrible hemorrhoids. And people ask these questions all the time of intersex people. When he started to tell me this story, I thought, that's not what it is. And I kind of knew, I kind of guessed. And it's hard for people that are not intersex to understand.
Yeah.
But the NIH came back and said, that's not what it is. You're cycling every month, but you don't have a vagina. So it's coming out the only exit that it knows how to get out of your body.
Oh.
And if people knew anything about genetics and chromosomal issues, that would have been diagnosed and recognized and dealt with years ago.
Yes.
And so he went back with all this information to Miami. He actually went to a doctor who had been at the NIH after medical school. So she had been doing protocols and she knew how the NIH worked. And the NIH said, go to her. And he went to her and she said, I don't believe in that shit. I don't believe in it. I don't think that's I think they're hemorrhoids. You're on your own. And I mean, over time, I've been saying to him,
is do an MRI, see what's inside the person.
Well, so then I was like, you have to get your estrogen. Like, that's going to help you. So apply for Planned Parenthood. Try and get it for your daughter. Try and get it any way that you can. I hate to say go to a trans community, but go to a trans community center in Miami. I know there are a lot of them, and say, I need this and I can't get it anywhere. And it would make my life so much easier. So that's what I meant. Sometimes you go to these doctors and they don't want to help you and you think, oh my gosh, where am I?
Yeah, and I started to think it was me. I kept thinking, am I a hypochondriac? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? Why? So that when I go in there, my blood pressure was so high. They were like, if you don't get your blood pressure down, we're putting you in the hospital. And I'm like, look, I'm just fucking scared to be here because I don't think you guys believe me when I say I'm in pain and it is affecting my daily life. I cannot live a productive, great life because most of my day is spent in discomfort.
It's
And whether
really hard.
it's
I went to a hospital in Orlando that was Christian based, and I'm Christian, so I thought I'm going to be in great care. I'll have great care.
yeah,
And then I realized that their pain treatment is Tylenol and prayers. And I thought,
ooh,
I appreciate that, but I need morphine.
yeah,
Like, you just, so my hysterectomy and my ureectomy, which is where they removed my testicle and my ovary in 2018, were done there. That was one of the first major surgeries I had done. And
no pain meds,
came out, what?
no pain meds.
Well, I came out, and originally they were like, we'll give her Tylenol and stuff like that. But my doctor, in the middle of the night, God bless him, love him, in Orlando, my urologist called and said, I went a little extra on her. I saw the precancerous cells in her cervix. I went ahead and got rid of all of those. I scraped right through her skin. Like, he was like, I made sure that she's set up for success. Give her whatever she needs.
Yeah,
And when I came out, they gave me morphine and I had an allergic reaction to it. And I never had an allergic reaction to it. So then they gave me Dilaudid on top of the morphine. So, I mean, I was good to go. Like, I'm pretty sure Peter Pan flew in the window at some point and said, come with me to Neverland. And I
yeah.
was
And they're like,
like, okay.
let me grab my overnight bag.
But I used to call Dr. Steinberg my husband, like, because he was gorgeous and cute and Jewish. And that's what I go for. My current boyfriend, Jewish. And so
That's the best, they say.
it's the best. They're both super great. So Dr. Steinberg had come in the next day and he was like, I felt so bad because I realized how much I did to you in surgery yesterday. And then I heard that you had a reaction. And he goes, I called up in the middle of the night and said, give her everything in the if she wants every pain medication in that. And my pain tolerance is pretty high.
Well, and
But again, I'm
but
blessed because I had doctors like that.
yeah.
But I know for a fact, not everybody. Hi, John Albert. I know for a fact, not everybody that goes through pain and medical procedures, especially in the intersex community, gets that compassion and gets that knowledge and gets and my tip is go with a younger doctor. I always tell people, I'm like, there may be, maybe you have a family doctor and you've been with him for years and your parents love him, but find a younger doctor. I tell everybody this. And my reasoning is they're eager.
Yeah.
They want to learn. And they are also coming out of a medical school where they're kind of learning about this stuff through social media.
And
So many people have reached out to me on
doctors,
TikTok and said,
any doctor over 50 isn't going to have the knowledge of any doctor in their 30s.
well, and I've always said with Alabama, I was born in 1975 in Alabama, even if they had the intersex XXY information that we have now, which is not leading because we're still not doing the research we should be doing. But even if they had that information in Alabama in 1975, do you think they would have given it to my parents?
No.
Nope. So find a younger doctor. Find a younger doctor, maybe that has something in common with you, because their propensity to help you find an answer is going to be tantamount to the people that are older, that are set in their ways.
Well, and I'll tell you something. There's nothing wrong with, except with insurance, it probably makes it more difficult. But interviewing doctors, finding
No,
out who I
it's a
want.
job. Yeah.
When I was pregnant, I went and talked to OBGYNs because I wanted to get a good fit of who was going to be my doctor. And it turned out, I don't even know how it turned out to be him, but it just, it was like, I liked him. He spoke well with me. He was the first doctor I saw, but it was all in one day. And then I went into labor while I was at the second doctor's interview. But I'll tell you, yeah, I mean, it's like for anything. And if you go for a job, people interview you. If they like your qualities, they hire you. And yeah, you've got to have a great relationship with your doctor. And if you don't, that's not your fault or because of you. It just means that doctor has trained a certain way, their mindset is a certain way, and that's the way it's going to be.
And you just need to find somebody that's going to work for you. And I advocate for parents all the time saying, until your kid hits puberty and until they can really sit down with you and say, I don't feel this way, or this is how I feel, or this is what's going on, you're their advocate. So don't do anything to them that you can't change, because that may not be their trajectory or their feeling.
Right.
But also the doctor in the UK after I lost my toe that said, go home to America and eat everything you can on XXY. Good stuff, bad stuff, wrong information, good information. Swallow it, read it, eat it. It may save your life. And it did, because it led me to the NIH. And people all the time ask me on TikTok, are you happier as a girl or are you happy as a boy? And I'm like, I'm both. Even though I changed the vessel, I'm still both.
Yes.
I didn't lose a chromosome. I'm still XXY. This is just a different vessel on the outside that I'm now presenting as. But I'm still both. So it's not for me, do I feel better as Juleigh than I did as Bradford? No. I'm both. It doesn't, in either body.
That's kind of like, do you feel
I'm the same.
Are you happy today, Wendy, more than you were happy yesterday? I mean, you're just a human being, and what makes you happy? Do what makes you happy. Dress how it makes you happy. Enjoy the things that make you happy.
Do what makes you. I tell people all the time, had the doctors at the NIH came back and said, you're not really working out as a man and you're not really working out as a woman, but if you don't do this, you'll die in 48 years. Drink this, but it's going to make you a Jack Russell Terrier. I wanted to live. So I would be doing this podcast right now, barking at you and saying, woof, woof, motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to extend my life. It wasn't about what vessel I was going to be in.
And I wanted to ask you, when did you find out you were XXY?
So I found out I was XXY at 17 after having a physical from our football team having to switch districts. We went from single to double A, and we all had to go have physicals. And so I was living in Orlando at the time, and the doctor had studied with Dr. Kleinfelter at the Mayo Clinic, and he came back and he said, I think he has Klinefelter syndrome. He hasn't met certain milestones that he should have met.
Yeah.
And then they did the test, and I guess he came back to my parents and said, his name was Dr. Condren, was a great doctor, very personable, but he was steeped in what he knew about XXY and Klinefelter syndrome, which they're trying not to even call it that anymore, because Klinefelter's is a disease of the testes, meaning you would need to have a set of testes to be Klinefelters. And you can only be Klinefelters if you're XXY, but not every XXY is going to be born inherently male or have testicles.
Right.
So they're trying not to call it that now. But even that's like trying to recreate the wheel, even within our own intersex community, because so many people are lodged onto, you have Klinefelter syndrome, and you're not a girl, you're a boy. And you're like, actually, it's a spectrum.
Yeah.
We're on the spectrum. So,
and so then you had to have.
I went on as a boy through my 40s. So in my 20s, I was living in New York, and I had a prostate cancer scare from all of the testosterone that they had placed me on at 17.
Right.
Because they said, well, we're just going to give him more testosterone, and that'll masculinize him out. And it won't make him so girly and prissy, and it'll lower his voice register. And, they told my parents everything that they tell everybody else. And we're telling everybody else in the 90s and the 80s. And so here I am taking the testosterone, literally going through a roller coaster because of the way it enters and exits your body. I was going through shots and pills and patches and working at Disney
And it
World.
makes you aggressive.
And it makes you aggressive, and it makes you, I mean, I have to be honest. I think I'm more horny and sexually active on the estrogen than I ever could plan to be on the testosterone. Like, I mean, I'm living my best cougar life. My new boyfriend's 26. I mean, it is what it is. I know.
Yeah.
I'm 20 years older, which I worried about too. And finally, my dad said, look, if he loves you and it's a great relationship, run with it. You may not be here tomorrow, and age is just a number. And I thought, thanks, Dad.
And
Because, you know,
there are younger people out there that want that maturity
yeah,
that you bring to the table.
yeah,
The way you look. And oh, guess what? You're not an immature 24-year-old.
right.
24-year-olds out there, but you know.
I mean, it's true.
It's
So, so anyway, took the testosterone, and then in my 20s, living in New York, went to go see a doctor through Actors Equity because I was doing Broadway, and the doctor said, I know nothing about genetics or XXY. And I thought, oh, well, it is.
It is what it is.
It is the early, 2000s and I mean, the late 90s. So he said, I would get off the testosterone. And if you can deal with a higher range voice and being a little more feminine, which I thought at the time I was gay and I was doing drag and theater, I thought, yeah, I'm good with it. He said, get off it because it could cause a lot of problems for you in your 40s.
Yeah.
Then I get to my 40s. So when I was at Queen Mary, I was in my 30s and I almost lost my leg. And then I lost a toe. And then I almost lost my leg again. And then I lost all my teeth. And
Yeah.
I got to Europe and lost my toe. And the doctor in Europe said, look, we study XXY and Klinefelters and intersex stuff way more over here in the UK and Australia than y'all ever would attempt to in America. And he goes, and that's not on the American doctors so much, but go home and learn everything you can because it may save your life. And that's how I got in tune with the NIH, at which point they said, hey, you're not making the testosterone levels you need to be. You're at 7 and you're not producing the estrogen levels you should be. You should be way over 400 and you're at 40. We don't know how you walked in this week. And you now have osteoporosis of the lower back and spine and lupus, which are very female diseases, and you need to go on copious amounts of estrogen. And I said, that's going to cause me to transition. I knew because I was in the gay community that trans people often are on lower dosage of estrogen. And the dosage that they were presenting to me, I said, that's a lot higher. And that's going to cause me to transition fast within like 6 months of me taking it. Wow. And the doctor said, the 8 doctors I had said, yeah, it will. But what's your alternative? If you go home, even if you have the surgeries done and you don't take a quantifying amount of a sturdy hormone, and we know your body doesn't react well to the testosterone because you had a prostate cancer scare. So estrogen is your only option. If you go home and you don't do this, we think you'll be dead by 48. And I am sure that you're not done with your life. And you need to go back to the hotel tonight.
You were saying that you thought that you were gay.
Right. So I had all this female energy in me and I had tendencies and I had always...
Did it scare you when they said that? Or I'm like, did you like... And then you have to tell your parents. I mean, your parents have to deal with it. I mean,
so the biggest issue for me was I had a breakdown that day, which they had said, why didn't you bring anybody with you? And I was like,
because you didn't know.
Boy. And they were like, well, most people have a breakdown midweek. And I went back to the hotel. I drank 3 bottles of wine because they said, look, at the end of the day, it's your life. So anything that anybody says really shouldn't weigh heavily on you. But we need to know tomorrow, do you want to take patch, pill, or injection? And I went back to the hotel and I called my parents.
Yeah.
I called my parents.
Yeah.
I called my siblings first. And I said, because I had nieces and nephews that knew me as Uncle Brad. And I said, where does this put us?
Yeah.
And I had a career as Brad.
Yeah.
So I was like, where does this? I had so many questions.
Yeah.
And one by one, my siblings came back and said, we love you. And in any form, you'll still be a sibling. That's what my older brother said. He said, I love you. And I've grown up with you. And I've always wondered. And you do you, we'll figure it out. His wife was kind of right on board. And then my little brother is one of my strongest supporters, follows me on TikTok as one of my moderators. He just asked me to be a part of his wedding next year as a bridesmaid. I mean, he supports me through and through. My sister said, it's not our life. It's not our decision. You do it and we'll figure it out. And we'll figure, and then I had to call my parents. I called a couple of friends that were close to me and asked for their opinion, like Melissa, my roommate at the time, and other people. And then I called my parents. And that was the conversation I was like worried about. My mom struggled with it, to be honest. She really struggled. And I think she still struggles with it on some level, even though I'm healthier. But my dad,
because you're a Julie.
Well, because she said my mom said that she always felt like I was her son, and that it was hard for her to. She was afraid I think she was afraid she wouldn't recognize me as Julie. And I think that she was afraid that there was no even my siblings would say we went back to the house and there's no representation of Julie in the house. It's all Brad. And I even had a conversation with my mom once, and she said, I walked by your portrait when you were 2, and it just breaks my heart. And I said, why? I said, it's a painting.
It's still you.
And I said, if you want to see my soul, look at the eyes. They're the same eyes. If my vessel changes, my eyes are always going to be the same. Yeah. They're going to be hazel. They may be a little bit more vibrant, but you'll be able to find me in my eyes. And I think that helped her a little bit. I also included my parents in the naming process, which a lot of people are shocked at.
I remember that. First you'd gone by Amanda.
I did go by Amanda, which was my drag name for many years. And Amanda is still my middle name. But I've always been an empath in a way, and I've always cared about what other people are feeling. And I knew that may make it easier on my mom and dad. And I called them one day and I said,
rename you, right?
I said, yeah. Do you want to, and look, some of the names that came out of that process, my mom's like, well, you had a great Aunt Nina. You could be a Nina. And I was like, I don't feel like a Nina. And we went through a lot of names. And then my dad said, had you been born fully female at birth, you would have been the first girl in the family. And we were going to call you Courtney Leigh, Leigh, to represent your Irish heritage. And I would really like you to keep that name. We'd really like you to keep that name somewhere in your name. And I thought,
but you have a sister named Courtney, right?
Right. So I couldn't be Courtney, and I don't look like a Courtney.
No.
I always liked the name Julie. And my spirit one night, when I was getting close to having to file the paperwork to change my name, I felt my spirit say, you can be Julie, but you're going to spell it Juleigh. And that's going to be unique, just like Bradford was.
Yep.
And it's going to honor your parents' request. And so it was an easy decision for me. And my dad and my mom, when I call them, even though they sometimes say he or will use different pronouns, they always call me Julie. And they'll be like, Julie's on the phone. My dad says it all the time. It's Julie. Julie's calling. And
even they might say, hey, he's on the phone. Julie's on the phone.
Well,
that doesn't matter, right?
My mom will say that more than my dad. So that's why I say she still struggles. But my dad had said in that moment, how long do you get to stick around if you take the estrogen? And I said, well, my medical team has said they're not in the business of making predictions. But they think that I'll get another 13 to 16 years out of it. Before my body really starts to just deteriorate.
Right.
But that medical miracles happen all the time.
And the longer you're with us, the longer they,
And my dad got a little quiet on the phone, and then he got choked up. And he said, well, this is easy. Because I was already a basket case. And he said, Brad, I would rather lose you in 10 to 16 years as my daughter than to lose you in 5 as my son. So you're going to go in tomorrow and say, give me the estrogen. And that was 3 years ago this month. And I think that I'm always going to be a little trepidatious about my birthdays until I pass that 48 mark in a couple of more years.
Yeah.
I think I just will be trepidatious. But here I am. And I found a quote recently and I put it on a picture and it says, she might be a little bit of a mess and she might be a little bit of a genius. And some days she's absolutely both. But she's here and she's fighting and she's relevant. And
I love you.
I love you too. So, guys, we've gone way over and it is okay. This has been almost a 2-hour podcast, which I've loved. Yeah. We've been together for 2 hours. Normally they only last about, I'm happy for the people that have tuned in and stayed and listened. For everybody that's going to be listening tomorrow to it on Spotify and iTunes and all the different ways you can hear this for the rest of its being. Thank you for listening. Again, join us June 18th at 7 p.m. right here on Just Juleigh on YouTube. I am being roasted. So I have friends that are joining me that are making me dinner and buying me a cake. I have already started to receive some birthday gifts this week, which I'm excited about. But I will have 9 of my closest friends, one of them being my new boyfriend, which everybody wants to get a peek at, joining me to roast me. I've already pre-warned my parents that it's going to probably be raunchy and dirty. But they know, but we invite everybody to watch. And if you would like to be a part of the celebration, if you register with your email for my newsletter on justjuleigh.com, we will be pulling an email out every 15 minutes during that live broadcast to give them a $50 Uber Eats gift card. So all you have to do is just provide your email at justjuleigh.com for our newsletter. And Just Juleigh is where everything lands for me. You'll be able to read my blog. You'll be able to read my history. You'll be able to watch past episodes of Rosé All Day and Juleigh's a Mess. Literally everything that's going on with me. Patreon, if you'd like to support this and support what I'm doing and support my advocacy, log on and subscribe to Patreon. We have gifts coming for everybody that's subscribing to that. A lot of people have been doing that lately, and I am so internally grateful, and I have so much gratitude and love for everybody that's supporting me. Tonight, Wendy and I are going to talk briefly after I close out the show, so please don't go anywhere, Wendy. It's been a pleasure having you. I love you so much. Thank you so much for joining us this evening on this special broadcast. And everybody join me next week for a brand new rosé. Thank you, Whispering Angel. I am going to finish the bottle tonight as I eat some pizza that's in the oven. Have a wonderful evening, everybody. Thank you, Wendy. I'll see you in a few seconds in the studio. And everybody else, much love. Thank you for listening to my story. And thank you for sharing it.
I love you, my friend. I'm so lucky. I'm so lucky. Near, far, I don't even care, Juleigh. I'm just so lucky to have you as my friend.
See you next week, everybody.
For more content, follow justjuleigh.com. That's just Juleigh, JULEIGH.com. Thank you to our guests, and thank you for joining us this evening. Join us next week as Juleigh tries a different rosé.